Today, we're still examining opportunities. Why? Because the Lord has arranged, earmarked, scheduled collision courses with you and great opportunities. Some testimonies have already come in. Yours is next. Saints, you need to believe the word of God's prophet. Opportunities, golden opportunities have come and are coming your way. So the whole idea is to prepare you for it. Our anecdote for today, though, is this: great opportunities come dressed in work clothes. Let me say it again. Great opportunities come dressed in work clothes, or maybe I should put it this way: great opportunities require great work. Great opportunities will require great work. Have you subscribed? Have you liked? Have you shared this with your network? If you haven't, do so right now. Today is going to be one of the most important aspects of opportunities that I have shared so far. So spread the word. Let's get down to business. Welcome to Dawn with Tim Gray. Welcome again to Dawn. Our anecdote for today is opportunities come dressed in work clothes. Don't be carried away or deceived by the pretty picture, the fancy job title, or the promise of a great payout. Great opportunities require great work. In our second anecdote, we briefly touched on the necessity for hard work. Today, we dive full swing into it. The Bible takes exception to toiling, but not to hard work. There's a difference between toiling and hard work. The difference is one expends a lot of energy with little or nothing to show for it, whilst the other one always brings a harvest. The truth, though, is we need to know when this hard work has now become toiling. But that's another conversation that we will have to have at another time. Do you know it's actually an insult to say to anyone who has a great marriage, great kids, a great career, a flourishing ministry, that they were lucky? It's a major insult. It's even sometimes a cop-out to say they were blessed, almost as though God chose to bless them and chose not to bless you. Let's agree on something, or rather, before we even get to that, watch this clip I'm about to show you, at the end of which we will come back and let's have a further conversation. All right?
And anytime you see a person who is doing anything exceptional, it is not luck. And let me just even be bold to say it's not favor. It's not favor. It's not grace. God is not selective with grace. God's grace is abundant to all. But there is something called frustrating the grace of God. So, being graced by God is God's investment in you. Being disciplined is your investment in yourself. When Paul is saying, I can do all things through Christ, he's not talking about grace. He says, he's talking about discipline. He says in a race, the reason why people win is because they are temperate in all things.
Was that clip an ouch moment for you? It was an ouch moment for me. It was, even though I try to work hard. The Bible, or should I say God, has a lot to say about the lazy man. It actually calls the lazy man a sluggard. Let's look at a few verses, just a few, all right? New Living Translation, Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6 says, "Take a lesson from the ants, you lazy bones. Learn from their ways and become wise. Though they have no prince or governor or ruler to make them work, they labor hard all summer, gathering food for the winter. But you, lazy bones, how long will you sleep? When will you wake up? A little extra sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, then poverty will pounce on you like a bandit. Scarcity will attack you like an armed robber." That is quite vivid. That's quite intense. Proverbs 10:26, still the New Living Translation, says, "Lazy people irritate their employers like vinegar to the teeth or smoke in the eyes." Proverbs 13 verse 4 says, "Lazy people want much but get little, but those who work hard will prosper." I could go on. Now, someone could argue that I work hard, but I still have nothing to show for it. And you actually may be right. But I am yet to see someone who doesn't work hard and yet has everything. So either way, hard work is a common denominator. A great marriage means someone put in the work. A great body means someone put in the work. What you work on works. Let me say that again. What you work on works. A poet, this is saying, I learned it all those many years ago in the university. A poet called Henry Wadsworth Longfellow said, "The heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upward in the night." Yesterday, I mentioned that one of God's first introductions of himself to us was him at work. From the account in Genesis, we see that God worked a minimum of 12 hours, 6 days a week. Chris Hogan, you should get his material. Chris Hogan studied 10,000 millionaires and said they had 5 things in common: personal responsibility, intentionality, they were all goal-oriented, and number 4, they worked hard in order to build their wealth. The 5th, which is consistency in each of these areas, as Hogan wrote, is what ties everything together. But notice, they worked hard. They say the average millionaire works at least 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. Again, you might say, but I work hard and yet no result. And again, you could be right. Working hard isn't the only recipe for success, but there will definitely be no success without working hard. Let me say it again. Working hard isn't the only recipe for success, but there will definitely be no success without it. Let me show you another clip. I know we're watching quite a few clips. Let me show you another clip. I'm not saying this person is an example unto the believers, but what he said is very instructive to us. Watch this clip and we'll come back, all right?
I've never really viewed myself as particularly talented. I've viewed myself as, slightly above average in talent. And where I excel is ridiculous, sickening work ethic. While the other guy's sleeping, I'm working. While the other guy's eating, I'm working. I will not be outworked, right? Period. You might have more talent than me. You might be smarter than me. You might be sexier than me. But if we get on the treadmill together, right, there's 2 things. You're getting off first, or I'm going to die. It's really that simple. The majority of people who aren't getting the places they want or aren't achieving the things that they want in this business is strictly based on hustle. It's strictly based on being outworked. It's strictly based on missing crucial opportunities. I say all the time, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
Welcome back. Welcome back. In her book, I hope that clip made sense to you. I think it needs no expansion. You got the gist of it. In her book, Grit by Angela Duckworth, I have the book, I read it, it's a phenomenal book. She put up a formula that I found to be so true and very useful. This is the formula. She said talent plus effort equals skill. Then skill plus effort equals achievement. So you notice that it takes twice the effort to get to the point of achievement. This isn't as difficult as it sounds. You pace yourself, you get yourself the right support group. Heck, even Jesus put the right support group around himself deliberately. He went up a mountain, he prayed, came down, and he chose his support group. His own siblings didn't even make the cut. They eventually came round, but they didn't even make the initial cut. Jesus was deliberate, dedicated, and committed to his task. He even died to prove it. I'm not saying work yourself to death, but I am saying if it's important enough, you will put in the work. If your child is important enough, you will put in the work. If your marriage is important enough, you will put in the work. And your marriage ought to be important enough, for goodness sake. If your career or business or ministry is important enough, you guessed it, you will put in the work. Someone argued that if I was to spend 10, 12, 14 hours on my craft or at my work, what time will there be for my family? The argument was something has to give. You cannot have it all. That's a lie from hell itself. And the person that said so to me, and I say this to anyone else who is saying so or thinking so right now, and I'm saying this to you in clear capital letters. If you think so, you don't love your wife, or you don't want your wife or kids. Let me say it again. If you are thinking that something has to give and my family will have to suffer if my business or my career is going to prosper, it is clear that you don't love your spouse, you don't love your kids, or you clearly don't want them anymore. Why? Because all that is an excuse. Listen. No wife or kid needs 10 hours of your time daily for them to get it right, or for you all to find a routine. No, none of them need that. If you were even giving them that much time, they will go crazy, and so will you. Some areas of our lives, I'm about to make a very important statement. Some areas of our lives will require more time than others. So it's not about giving it all the time in the world. It's about giving it the time it needs, and everything needs time, and there's a time for everything. I will say it again. Some areas of our lives will require more time than others. So it's not about giving it all the time in the world. It's about giving it the amount of time it needs, and everything needs time, and there is a time for everything. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1 says, for everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven. Let's list some areas of importance that you and I should look into in our lives. Let's list them. Your spiritual life is one of them. Without this, life is meaningless, and all your accomplishments end in this dimension, which is a very sad waste. Number 2, your health is also a very important aspect of your life. Number 3, your core relationships, your spouse, your kids, your family. Number 4, your purpose. What are you here for? What is your assignment? Your purpose, which hopefully should lead you or should be connected to number 5. If it's not, it's okay. They could be separate, but they all must be worked on. So number 5, your career or your business. Number 6, your legacy. What will you be remembered for? Maybe you can add to the list. Actually, feel free to add to that list. All that I have listed, they all deserve time allocation, and you need to work hard consistently at all of them. Opportunities come dressed in work clothes, or let me put it in another way. Great opportunities require great work. Some people have all sorts of reasons why they don't give their best or give their all sorts of reasons. Some say, I don't like what I'm doing. I've heard this one a lot of times. I don't like what I'm doing. That's why I don't give it my best. I don't give it my all. Nonsense. Excellence is who we are, not what we do. I will pause for you to hear it again. Excellence is who you are. It is not, it has to be more than what you do. It shouldn't matter what you do. Excellence isn't an act, it's a nature. Excellence is your nature. Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 10. I'm going to read this particular verse in 3 different translations so that you get the gist of it. King James Version says, whatsoever, Ecclesiastes 9 verse 10, whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave whither thou goest. Listen to that same verse in the New Living Translation. It says, whatever you do, do well. For when you go to the grave, there will be no work or planning or knowledge or wisdom. Whatever you do, do well. Look at it in the Good News Translation. This one it doesn't get clearer than this. It says, work hard at whatever you do, because there will be no action, no thought, no knowledge, no wisdom in the world of the dead. And that is where you are going. Have you noticed, unless Jesus comes, nobody gets out of here in general alive, unless Jesus comes. But who knows? Maybe 1 or 2 of us might be translated like Enoch was. Who knows? Let's move on. Some say, if I had this or I had that, then I will work hard and I will give it my best. Oh my goodness, this is one of the worst. You know, the first one, they say, I don't like what I'm doing, and that's why we've addressed that. But some say, if I had this, if I had that, then I will give it my best. That one would require a whole different conversation for us to address, but let me try. If what I'm about to give you another Selah moment, if what you need to do, let me say it again. If what you need to do, the thing within your power to do, is outside of you, you have believed a lie. Let me say it again. If what you need to do, the thing that is within your power to do, is outside of you, or so you think, you have believed a lie. A friend said to me many years ago, not so many years ago, he said, if I had an office like you, then I will pray more, I will study more, I will do more. I said to him, you have believed such a terrible lie from hell. When Jesus could not afford the Ritz Hotel, he went to a mountain. He worked with what he had because the outcome was more important than his convenience. The outcome was more important than his convenience. Let me tell you my story. When we decided that we're going to birth a church, when we decided that, we had no members, there was no congregation, there was no building, there was nothing. There was nothing. But my wife and I had received the mandate that it was time for us to birth a church. So this was my program. I will push my son to his creche. I will get there before 9 a.m. in the morning. The creche happened to be run by a church. So they had an auditorium there. There was no office. There was nothing. They had an auditorium. I did not ask for permission. Every day after I would drop off my son, I will go into the auditorium with my Bible, with my reading material, the books I was studying, Christian books, secular books, my writing materials. There were no iPads then. And I will stay there from 9 a.m. till 4:30 p.m. Most of the time, I did not have lunch because I was waiting for my wife to come back and we would do lunch together. And I will stay there. There was nobody that was marking register. There was nobody that was checking. What did you do? How did you spend your time? I understood that if this thing was going to work, somebody had to work it. And my boss is not physical, my boss is spiritual, and I had to give account. I stayed there and I prayed prayers that I am still reaping the harvest of today. I stayed there and I wrote sermons even though I had nowhere to preach them. I wrote sermons. I was going through one of my diaries recently, and I was seeing some sermons I wrote then. I laugh now because I look at that and I'm saying, oh my God, Is this what I understood there? I have come a long way from there. But I wrote sermons that took me hours even before I needed them. Now I get opportunities to come and shoot recordings and 5, 6 recordings at a go. And I'm able to put a resource together in a few hours. Why? Because we started when there was nothing. We pushed. I remember those days at 4:30, I would then take my son, push him back home, tidy the house, because my wife then had a 9-to-5 job, tidy the house so that my wife would come back to a tidy house. Later, my wife decided that we will meet at the creche instead so that we will walk home together. We worked at this. We worked at the ministry even when there was nothing to work on, and we worked at it for hours. We worked, and we are still working at our marriage, and we have been working at it for 18 years and counting till date. Anything that will be great requires great work. You need to settle it. You need to settle it and stop the excuses and choose to work at it. Maybe you don't have a job. Yes. Maybe you're saying, if I had a job, I will work hard. Story. Read hard, apply hard, pray hard. There is always something to do. Did you hear me? Always. There is always something to do. The Bible, you know that saying, I want to say the Bible because we say it so often. That saying is so true. An idle mind is the devil's workshop. An idle mind is the devil's workshop. Don't get me wrong. Find time to rest. I'm in that position again. Can you imagine? In less than a year, I found myself there again where a doctor is prescribing sleeping tablets for me. I understand that. We must find time to rest, and we will find time to rest. But do not make excuses for your laziness. Do not give excuses for not delivering 110% every time. And again, I'm not just talking about your job or your business. I'm talking about, I gave you 6 areas. I have 7 altogether. You know, the 7th one is my private one. You need to populate your own list. These 6 areas, I am committed and I am working at all 7 areas. I am working at them consciously. I am intentional about it. When people say, I like your relationship with your wife, I am intentional about it. When people say you have this, look, you must be intentional. And every day you must show up and give it everything you can. You know that saying, give it everything, throw everything at it plus the kitchen sink. Yes, plus the kitchen sink. You must be able to at whenever the end of your life comes. I'm not talking about death, but when you decide it's time to slow down, you need to be able to say, I gave it everything. I gave my wife or my husband everything. I gave my children everything. I gave my health everything. I gave my purpose everything. I left it all at the altar. My pastor said this to me many years ago, Pastor Paul Adefarsin. He said this to me, and I will say it to you. I was asking him, how do you prepare for your messages? How do you deliver what you deliver? How have you built what you've built? How have you, particularly your pulpit preparation, what's your secret? These were his words. He said, it's 3 things. Number 1, read yourself full. Meaning, do your research. Make sure you so understand your content that even if your notes were taken from you, you will still be able to deliver it. Read yourself full. So number 2, pray yourself hot. Make sure that there is fire from the altar. Make sure you pray yourself hot. Number 3 is where I'm heading. He said, number 3, when you get to that pulpit, when you get on that stage, whatever your stage is, when you get on that stage, let yourself go. He said, when you get on that stage, give it everything. Drop everything there. When you walk off that stage, even if someone was to say this, now I'm paraphrasing, this is what I understood. Even if someone was to say, you could have done this, you should have said that, you shouldn't have said that, you know that when you stood there, when you stood there in your marriage, when you stood there as a parent, when you stood there as a leader, when you stood there as an employee, when you stood there as a minister of the gospel, when you stood there, you dropped everything. You gave it everything you knew. You gave it everything you had. My biological father, a man I love and I look up to a lot till date, he said this to me: I have no regrets. I said, but you've made mistakes. You've done things that I'm sure you look back and maybe you could have turned left or turned right. He said, listen, I have made peace with everything that I did right and everything that I did wrong and everything I could have done. He said, I have made peace. With everything that I knew, with everything that I understood, I gave it everything I had. My goodness. May we all be able to say those words. I gave it everything that I had. I have another meeting I need to jump into, so I'm done now. I want to pray for you. Everlasting Father, I thank you because grace has already been given. We take hold of it. For by your goodness we can do all things through Christ who has strengthened us. We operate with divine discipline in every area of our lives. Our marriages, our parenting, our families, our health, our relationship with you, our careers, our purpose, our jobs, our businesses. We operate in divine discipline. We put everything by working with your grace. We won't frustrate it. We put everything on that stage. Thank you, Father, in Jesus' name. I hope you've been blessed. I hope it's made sense. Have you registered for Tango and Tim yet? The registrations are coming fast and furious. Have you registered yet? If not, register now. Register now. Come into the Zoom room. We are going to be addressing quite a few things. We're going to be addressing how to rekindle, the flame that might have been going out. We're going to address how to survive a betrayal. We're going to address quite a few, all right? You will bear with me. I gotta run. But saints of God, our anecdote for today: great opportunities require great work. So let's get to working. God bless you. This has been Dawn with Tim Grage. Bye for now.